All right, guys, welcome to Economics and the Constitution. This is the 7th lecture in the series, the In the Constitution series that I do. So glad you're here. We're going to talk about some things that I think are important. I don't think there's any real doubt or any dispute about the state of our economy. It's in the tanks, right? And we have some big challenges ahead of us. What we're going to try to do is discover today, like we do in all the other presentations, what does the Constitution have to say about this topic? Because the Constitution, as I claim, has the answers. They're there. We don't need to look other places. We need to look to the Constitution and follow it. And that's how we're going to get the answers to get our economy back on track. So let's start out with a good quote here. I think it's a funny one. It's said in jest, obviously, but it's actually quite accurate. Ronald Reagan says, government's view of the economy could be summed up in a few short phrases. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. And if it stops moving, subsidize it. Okay, obviously that's said as a joke, but it's actually very, very true. That's how government views the economy, don't they? We need to get involved somehow, a way or another. If it's not working, or if it is working, we've got to inject ourselves into the economy. And that's the problem, isn't it? There's a famous economist named Thomas Sowell. This guy's really good. He says this: the first lesson of economics is scarcity. Okay, there's never enough of anything to satisfy all those who want it. That's the idea, right? If there are abundance of resources, you won't have to worry about it, but there's scarcity. That's the first lesson of economics. And he follows that up saying, the first lesson of politics is to disregard the first lesson of economics. Politicians say, look, you just give me enough power, enough rules, enough regulations, I can make it so there's no longer scarce resources. Well, the fact of the matter is, in economics, there is a scarcity of resources. That's an economic fact. That's a natural law fact. And so politicians, it's funny how he says that the first lesson of politics is to disregard the first lesson of economics, which obviously can't be done. So let's start out. I like to start the presentation with some definitions. The first definition is, what's economics in the first place? The standard textbook definition is the management of the scarce resources of an organized system in order to maximize benefits. Okay? It pretty much encompasses what economics is all about. You're managing scarce resources and for the purpose of maximizing your benefits, using those resources as efficiently as possible. Okay, the next definition to get clear in our heads is, what is wealth? What's wealth? It's a really interesting question, isn't it? When it comes down to, I think one way to look at this, it's kind of a different way of looking at it, is wealth equals productivity. That's what wealth is. Wealth is being productive. Okay, because the result of productivity is wealth. Now, a lot of people say wealth is simply a stack of paper currency. Is that true? No, we just learned about in our previous presentation, money in the Constitution, that a stack of paper currency is simply a stack of paper, isn't it? Okay? So wealth is not a stack of paper currency. Wealth is productivity. Now, piggybacking on that idea that wealth is productivity, let's look at this slide. In and of itself, the question is, does government produce anything, right? If wealth is productivity, does government produce anything in and of itself? No, they don't produce a single thing. All they do is redistribute the wealth of those citizens and people who are part of the government, okay, who pay taxes to the government. They don't produce anything in and of themselves. So if the answer to that question is no, then the follow-up is, therefore, can government create wealth? No, they don't produce anything, so they can't create wealth. All they do is use the wealth of their citizens to provide goods and services that hopefully, theoretically nowadays, is simply to protect those citizens, to protect their rights. Okay? But government doesn't produce anything, therefore government can't produce wealth. And that's the folly at the very basic level of very many ideas and governmental agencies is, oh, we can produce wealth. We can manage the economy. Government doesn't manage the economy. Government doesn't produce wealth. Okay? That's not their job. Okay, now the third term we're going to discuss is capital. What's capital? That's a term that's used a lot in economics classes, okay? Capital is the means of production. It's the means to produce wealth, okay? Your labor, your natural resources, your land, your property, your equipment, that's what capital is. It's the means to produce the wealth, okay? It's the way that you make wealth. Now, if capital is the means to produce and to create wealth, then all systems are based on capitalism. You can't produce anything without capital, can you? You have to have land or labor or resources to do so. So all systems, all economic systems are capitalistic in nature because they have to have capital. They have to have the resources in order to do that. The difference between economic systems such as the free market, socialism, and communism lies in ownership of the capital. Decisions about what to produce, how much, and at what price are different in each economic system. In the free market, private individuals make that choice. In socialism and communism, the state and the government make those choices. And that's the big difference, is the ownership of that capital. Who makes those decisions? Okay? So that's capital. Now, summing it up in just one concise statement, I don't know if you've heard of Ludwig von Mises. Have you heard of Austrian economics? That's kind of a new word that's come out lately. Austrian economics. The founder of Austrian economics is this man named Ludwig von Mises. Great economist and understands things. Here's what he said, and I think it's probably the best definition there is about economics. Economics is not about goods and services. It's about human choice and action. That's what it's about. Economics is about a free market where people produce and meet the needs and wants of the citizenry and therefore succeed in economies, or those who don't and don't make it, right? It's about people being free to choose what they want. And that's why government interference in that choice is a problem, and that's what stifles our economy instead of does what it proposes to do, which is stimulate the economy. They can't stimulate the economy. Then get out of the way, and then the people themselves stimulate the economy because they're free. Because economics is not about goods and services, it's about human choice and action. Okay? All right, so what we're going to do now